Welcome to Wake Up with Marci, a deep dive into self-discovery. I'm your host, Marci Hopkins, and this is the space where we get real about life, transformation, and finding our true selves. Hello, all, and welcome back to Wake Up with Marci. I'm your host, Marci Hopkins, and I am so grateful that you are here today. This is where we dive deep into real conversations, radical healing, and waking up to your worth. Today's guest is someone who's changing the way we talk about alcohol. He is the co-founder of Sunnyside, an innovative app that helps people build healthier drinking habits through mindful tracking and support. We'll explore his personal journey, how his family's experience in alcohol shaped his mission, and what it means to discover a new path through vulnerability and habit change. Welcome to the show, Ian.
Thanks, Marci. I'm so glad we made this connection. I appreciate you having me here. And that was a great intro. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, the work you're doing is fantastic. People, a lot of times, are questioning their relationship with alcohol. Or sometimes they just can get in a rut and they don't even realize that, like, they're, going from one glass of wine to maybe two glasses of wine. And then that perpetuates the problem. So bringing awareness to that is so important. But you yourself, you had to reevaluate your relationship with alcohol. So what happened when that happened for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a family that's been deeply impacted by alcohol. And I think it's worth starting my story with a little bit of that, because it really is sort of the foundation of what led to my journey with alcohol, I would say. So I'm a twin and identical twin. And shortly after I was born, my parents both took to drinking quite heavily. I'd say maybe within 5 to 6 years or so. And my father was working in construction, and his form of drinking was to come home at night and drink 3 beers at night, leading to 6 beers eventually. And eventually, the way he explained it, was drinking a 12-pack a night. And this was happening at a time that him and my mom were starting to kind of separate in their own relationship. And so my mom, who I don't think was ever much of a drinker, became very drawn to alcohol. And she became a much more closeted drinker, where she would drink in private in her bedroom. Yeah. And the long and short of it is that my dad saw that this was becoming a real issue with the family, that if they kept down this path, there would be my brother and I would probably end up in foster care, just because they weren't really in a good situation to take care of us. He quit drinking cold turkey with the support of AA, which is incredible. I have the highest respect for AA and the millions and millions of people that they have helped. So after that, he didn't touch alcohol for the rest of his life until he passed away a few years ago. So incredible influence on me and how I kind of look at alcohol. And then my mom, she couldn't, unfortunately, stop drinking. And it got to the point where we had to move out of the house, and she was on her own. It was really what she wanted. It was what her addiction led her to do, which was separate from the family. And unfortunately, without, sort of clarity of mind, she made that her priority. She then, after we moved out around the age of 9, she then passed away 2 years later when I was 11 years old from liver failure. So it was this rapid decline. And I'm not going to say that I'm positive that there were interventions that would have helped her, but I will say that at the time that they were both going through this experience, the tools that were available for helping people start making a change around their habits with alcohol the tools were much less known than they are today. Like the options today are more widely available. They touch on every spectrum of sort of alcohol use, whether it's somebody that's fully addicted to alcohol or someone that's just looking to cut back. And that's really where Sunnyside does come in, the system that we've built. So this created a complicated relationship for me with alcohol. It's really hard to explain, but I know that millions of other people go through the same experience, where when they grow up in families that have been impacted by alcohol, they have this complicated relationship with, like, should I drink or should I not drink? I should probably stay away from it, but at the same time, all of my friends are starting to dabble in alcohol. So
Yeah.
I decided to test drinking around senior year of high school,
Mhm.
and it was very light for me. But then in college, I started to really enjoy drinking, and I did it socially. I just did the college thing, and it was fine. It didn't impact my life. But then when I got into my career many years ago, I was working in marketing tech in the Bay Area. I live close to the Bay Area now, but not exactly in San Francisco. And I was living the life. I was working at a great company. We got acquired by a bigger company, and the job kind of got a little bit easier, and happy hours got a lot more prominent. And I found myself going to happy hours multiple times a week. And I got to this point where I had gained 20 pounds. I'm a pretty thin guy. I like being fit. And like, I had this one moment where I was supposed to be recording a video, kind of like this, but actually in person. And the video was shown to me afterwards. It was like this little promotional video. And I just told them, you can't use that. Like, I don't recognize that person in that video. It does, that person looks bloated. They don't look happy. They look 20 pounds overweight. And that was a moment for me where I was like, I think I probably need to cut back on drinking. And it was pretty simple. It's not like I had to go analyze it much deeper than that. I felt like I was drinking too much because my energy was low. The way that I felt performance wise at work was low, and I was seeking happy hours. I found myself looking forward to happy hours so that I could have a drink. And now that was in 2018 or so. And so now, many years later, with the start of Sunnyside, I have studied alcohol and its effects, as I imagine you have a bit with your own journey. And I feel like there was nothing wrong with that person in 2018 necessarily. It's just that I don't feel necessarily like I was doing something wrong, but I'm proud to say that I was able to make a pretty dramatic change in my life. And for me, that was very much willpower at the time. And I took 3 months off of drinking. I
Mhm.
just made the decision. I kind of think in extremes like that. And those 3 months were pretty transformative for me. I lost weight. I felt amazing. I got back in my workout routines. And I realized that in the priority of things that I was looking forward to in that period of my life, alcohol was pretty high on the list. And after that 3 months, I had sort of reoriented it. I went back to drinking in much more moderation and with much more mindfulness, but it was much lower on the list. And I had just sort of reoriented where that fit. So that's the high level version of my experience with alcohol. I can speak more to where it fits into my life these days now that I'm the co-founder of an alcohol health program. Happy to dive into that a little bit too.
Well, we certainly will. Certainly will. Just laying the foundation. And for those out there listening, like for instance, my mother was an alcoholic. And when you are raised in a home where there is alcohol, it has a big impact on you. And when you were talking about that, there were not a lot of options. I mean, I stopped drinking about 10 years ago, and there weren't. Even at that
Yeah.
time, it was basically AA or rehab.
Hmm.
Thankfully, I didn't need rehab, but a lot of people out there, just if you're listening and you're thinking about quitting drinking, make sure that you do talk with your doctor, because if you are drinking excessively, um, you could potentially die from just stopping cold turkey, because your body actually believes that you need it. So for your mother and my mother, I used to think my mom was choosing the alcohol over me. But now, as I understand it, when you have an addiction, you feel that you can't live without it. And there are a lot of people out there that struggle so getting and changing life without alcohol. And so I believe fully that if we could actually make a choice, we wouldn't choose the alcohol over the love of our family. So
Yeah,
it just
absolutely.
shows you the power of that alcohol use disorder. And it is a disorder, it is a disease.
Hmm.
So, but the fact is that you then had somebody that gave you a positive influence. I don't know about you, but coming from that background, I questioned my drinking all the time. I would watch
Yes.
how other people were drinking. I would, look to see how much I was drinking. Once I got past those teen years and I became more aware of it. But also to see someone, my mother, my grandfather drinking every day, that was like the norm. So for me to come home from work and have a couple glasses of wine, like I didn't see anything wrong with it because I didn't know any different. But of course, I questioned it during my lifetime of drinking. But I looked forward to that happy hour. Like it was like, I got to get through my day just so I can get to my happy hour. Right. So I
Absolutely.
totally relate to that.
And
Totally.
with alcohol and with other habits and substances, there's this dopamine rush that we get just with anticipating the happy hour. So if you're listening to this and you're relating to this, and around 1 p.m. you get this excitement in your body
Yeah.
because you're thinking about the happy hour. I just want people to know that that there's nothing wrong with you. That is your dopamine. That's your brain, the way that it's wired, and those things can be unwired and they can
Yeah.
be untrained over time. There are programs for this. The stack of those programs looks, there's a lot. There's a lot of options. There's behavior change programs like Sunnyside. There's therapy. There's retraining with like non-alcoholic beverages. There's so many options out there these days just to start taking that first step. Marci, I want to just, there's something really interesting that I want to just tap into really quick.
Yeah.
This is, sounds a little, well, I was going to say kind of dark, but you were talking about growing up in a household and how it really changes how you think about alcohol. I always questioned my relationship with alcohol from the time that I took my first drink, senior year of high school. I was wondering, is this it? Like, well, first of all, like this feels great. How come my parents can't have this anymore? But one thing that really struck me that my twin brother said at one point, as we were talking about alcohol, he said the complicated thing that he had formed in his mind was, as long as I don't die from alcohol, I'm doing better than my parents.
I
So
get that. I get that too.
that's such a dangerous high bar for us to set as children. And I hadn't really thought about it that way, and it's always stuck with me. But something probably deep inside of me probably has always told me, like, as long as you don't do what your parents did, you're probably okay. And I had to completely reset that. One of the
It's
things
so
that
crazy you
really,
say that.
yeah,
Yeah, 'cause towards the end of my drinking, I'm like, well, I'm not my mom.
you totally,
But it was affecting my life. But
yeah,
you just sharing about what's available today. I mean, there's so many ways that you can shift the way that you do think and your
totally.
relationship with alcohol. So let's talk about Sunnyside. I mean, this is incredible. This app that you have created, co-created. So let's talk about what inspired you to build it and what does it offer to its users?
Yeah, thank you for letting me talk about Sunnyside. It's been an amazing journey and something that I hope if we could help one person listening with our program, then we've won.
Yeah.
What inspired Sunnyside? So obviously, well, okay, actually, coming out of my break from drinking, I actually started. I decided to start tracking some of my habits in a spreadsheet, just as a there's people that we call it like quantified self. Like I have a Whoop for tracking my biomarkers on a daily basis, and it's been really helpful for me to make correlations with my health. But back in 2018, I started in a spreadsheet. I would track my workouts. I did a little bit of calorie tracking just because I wanted to maintain my health. And then one new thing that I did is I started tracking the drinks that I had. Every day that I drank, I wrote how many that I had, and it really helped me start to understand these patterns with my drinking. So we've learned that it's an incredibly powerful and sort of scientifically proven tactic to track your drinks, and that became a fundamental aspect of the Sunnyside program.
Is it like the awareness, like you're seeing it, right? Instead of just
yeah, there's an awareness component. So we find that most people that start, we really encourage people, like, don't boil the ocean in your first 30 days with Sunnyside. You're here not to quit. Most people don't come to Sunnyside to quit. They come to make fundamental change with the way that they think about alcohol, to like rethink how it fits into their lives. Tracking your drinks for 30 days and then beyond helps you just gain a realistic perspective of how much you're drinking. And for a lot of people, that's really powerful. The other thing that tracking does, though, is it creates what we call a little moment of conscious interference. So if you're tracking your drinks in real time, which you can do in the Sunnyside app, you're giving yourself a little pause, and it's not rocket science. That pause gives you a moment to decide in a smarter way. Do I want to have a drink? Do I want to have water? Do I want to have a non-alcoholic beverage? And that's been really powerful for people. So these are incredibly simple tactics that we employ in the Sunnyside program. There's a lot more to it. But just getting back to sort of the inspiration piece, my co-founder came to me he came to me in 2020 and said that he had this idea for an app that would help the millions of people that are looking to drink less, but not necessarily quit, to help them on that journey. Because I still think these days, if you ask someone that you've just met, like, hey, hypothetically, if you wanted to cut back on your drinking, what would you do? I think most people would generally say, well, I guess I'd go to AA, but I don't want to quit. So I wouldn't go to AA. And AA is for people that need to that have hit rock bottom. And so it creates this cognitive dissonance. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to start drinking less because I'm not going to go to AA, and AA is not for me. The truth is, AA is a great program for a small percentage of people. There are millions and millions of people that drink alcohol. And in studies, 50% have said that they want to drink less, but only 10% actually do something about it. This is an awareness problem. This is a conversational problem within how we look at alcohol. And so he had this idea for this program. He didn't find anything else online. So we set out to build it. And our approach is whether you can join Sunnyside, whether you want to cut back or quit. Marci, you're totally right. If somebody is a certain type of drinker, they might want to seek medical attention or talk to a doctor first. And those are people that are most likely going to need a little more help than Sunnyside can offer. But there are tens of millions of people that fit the criteria for Sunnyside, which is, I know I'm drinking too much. It's impacting my life. I'm not having withdrawal symptoms, for example, but I need support to cut back, because this is about the brain. It's about behavior change. It's about habit change. And yeah, we set out to build that program. Something that I'm really proud of, though, which I just want to make sure people understand, is about 15% of people that join Sunnyside do end up quitting. So we're not a sobriety program, but as you enter the Sunnyside experience, you're taking a moderation-based approach to your alcohol. You're learning about alcohol, you're learning how to cut down, and then just sort of gain clarity around where alcohol sits in your life. And for a lot of people, about 15% of our members, that clarity leads them to make the decision to go sober, which is an amazing outcome. But for about 85% of our members, they keep drinking, but they do so at reduced rates, and they're now empowered to maintain those habits over time. So there are details of the program that I can get into, but that's the general gist of it.
Well, I'm going to guess that a lot of them do stop drinking completely, because when you quit drinking and you have the mindfulness, the behavior changes, and we're going to talk about that more, but and the impact of that. But when you take alcohol out of your life or reduce the alcohol, you start to evolve as a person. You reconnect with yourself. And like for me, when I quit drinking, it allowed me to become curious in life. And it allowed me to not prioritize alcohol. It was more about prioritizing myself, prioritizing the things that made me happy, and finding those things that actually made me happy. So that's why I'm going to guess that, like you wake up in the morning, you've got a clear head, you feel good, you're ready to go, you're shifting your mindset to a gratitude mindset, you're working out, like you said, you're looking better, your self-confidence is lifted. Like there's so many benefits to it. But there's nothing wrong with drinking. It's just acknowledging the relationship and maybe cutting back, like you said. So let's talk about some of the practices that you offer through Sunnyside that create the change with the habits, with the mindset.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to dig into that. So I just want to touch on this idea of brighter mornings, because it's literally why we named our company Sunnyside. We wanted to just feel like a destination, something you could get to. And we tell people Sunnyside is all about brighter mornings. It's about clearer minds that lead to better decision making, better relationships, and just the way you put it. Did you say curiosity?
Right? You're feeling better.
Yeah. So there are people that have joined. I'll get into the mechanics, but I just want to share. There's different types of people that join Sunnyside, and I just want to talk about two common types. One of them is the daily wine drinker. So if somebody's been drinking wine, 2 to 3 glasses of wine every night for the last couple of years, according to the CDC, those are within the guidelines. But as you get older, or your doctor talks to you, or you realize that hangovers are starting to get to you, you make a decision that you want to drink less, but it becomes really hard because the habit that's been ingrained in your mind is very deeply in there and can be hard to break. So a daily wine drinker is a very common persona that comes and joins Sunnyside. And then also like a weekend binge drinker. So somebody that doesn't drink at all during the weekdays, but then as soon as they start having a drink on Fridays, they have a really hard time stopping. Yeah. The reason I want to highlight this is there are different types of drinkers that can benefit from a program like Sunnyside that builds awareness and behavior change around your habits. So if you're listening to this and you're not sure if you fit the criteria, trust me, you do. We've had over 400,000 people start Sunnyside. We've seen every pattern type of drinker, and we've helped every type of persona. So how Sunnyside works, I'll go through this pretty quickly. You start by signing up and giving us some of your personal information privately, anonymously, so that we can understand your drinking patterns and behaviors. And we start right away by offering you a plan for your week ahead. We recommend drinks for your week ahead, but we never promote drinking. I just want to be clear about that. That should be pretty obvious. We don't promote drinking, but what we do is we promote that you drink less than you did the week before. And for most people, we're going to do just a haircut on their first week. And if they hit those targets, we will continue to haircut a little bit more every week. Our general goal is to try to get you down to the CDC recommended guidelines of 14 drinks per week for men, 7 drinks per week for women. I believe I'm getting that right. I might be 1 or 2 off. We also want to help you avoid binge drinking behavior, which is 4 or more drinks in one sitting. So our program where we recommend drinks for you is going to help you gradually, very, very gradually get down to the CDC recommended guidelines. If you do hit those goals, we'll continue helping you decrease. If you're not hitting the plan that we give you, we're going to check in with you. Our coaching team will check in with you, and we're going to help you kind of adjust your plan to be more realistic for you. So you can always adjust your targets. We're trying to get dry days into the week for you, which are incredibly important. A lot of people that join Sunnyside haven't had dry days for a while, and they haven't had a long string of dry days for a while. So we're going to really try to get a couple days of dry days for you within the first couple months. And you're going to feel how that improves your mental and physical well-being so that you can have clarity of mind to start making healthier decisions for yourself. So there's this tracking component. We encourage you to track your drinks. We encourage you to take the planning experience very seriously. And then we have coaching from real humans that are accessible through our text message program. That's available for everybody. And we have this really cool
coaching?
They're mindful drinking coaches.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can support people on their sober journeys. Absolutely. There are people that use Sunnyside to track their sober streaks. We've actually recently improved that side of the experience because we know that more and more people are joining Sunnyside to maintain their sobriety. Like I said, about 85% of people that are using Sunnyside are mindful drinkers. They're working on moderation and reduction.
Yeah.
We have a really great progress in analytics tools. We have resources in education, and we also have challenges. So if this whole idea of us making recommendations to you on a weekly basis isn't really working, you can just join these 30-day challenges that are geared around quantified goals like cutting your drinking by 50% or not drinking for 30 days.
Just want to change how they're looking at it and need the support around changing their drinking habits. So I just want to thank you for sharing your journey and the support again, helping to break down the stigma, offer real solutions, and just being vulnerable. And like you said, community is so important. So
absolutely,
if you're out there or even just questioning your habits, you're not alone. I mean, so many millions and millions of us do. So whether it's tracking your drinks or starting a conversation, every step counts. And don't forget to subscribe and share Wake Up with Marci for more powerful stories and healing and transformation. So you are not alone on this journey. There is so much support out there, and you are worthy.